Fub Gun? We're going to Fub Gun in search of a tanky, cheap build? That's gonna be like trying to get Totems O'Toole to take his sneakers off. I'm not taking my sneakers off, cause I'm Totems O'Toole.
Hey, take those sneakers off.
No.
Take them off, I said.
No.
Let him go. We'll never catch him. Not in these shoes.
I didn't take my sneakers off. I'm still Totems O'Toole. Hello everyone. So, we're going to be talking about a very interesting build that I've been putting together recently, and I wanted to show everyone because I've been trying to put together Earthbreaker for a while, and I think I've finally made a build that just straight up works. So, I'm going to just demo real quick, make sure, just let you know this thing works. So, Fortress, I don't know, go Sanctuary. So this demo is just going on and it's kind of silent, but I just wanted to let you know that if you just want to go and get the POBs, they're in the description and they have full notes, all of the FAQ that I could find. Obviously leave more FAQ if you really need to. If you have any questions about the build, let it be known in the comments, but just know that the build will work if you read everything, even just in the POB, but I recommend watching the video because it's interesting how everything comes together and put a lot of work into it, so. Okay, so I think that was a pretty good showcase of what the build's capable of. Now, be aware, this is no Mageblood. This can be set up with Mageblood later, and obviously this build is just going to get better the more you invest into it, because it is a type of stacker character in a way. So, how does this build work? So, the basic idea behind this build is pretty simple. Earthbreaker Totems were locked off from the game. You can't get it as a support gem anymore, you can only get it on the Dawnstrider unique boots. Provides a very interesting challenge that basically says, how do you make a build work on essentially a 5-link? So here's how you make a build work on a 5-link. You get it a lot of damage, because it is going to be missing the damage from its 6th link, and it's going to be using a very interesting mechanic, which is Totems. So Earthbreaker Totems, essentially how they work is, it's going to summon a totem, does whatever slam skill that you put in it, and that slam skill is going to do basically the same as if you did it, but from a totem. Now, totems are weird. They essentially copy your stats, they essentially copy everything that you do, and because of that, they don't count as a minion, they count as their own weird little proxy thing, which means you can give them stuff like headhunter buffs, and charges, and all of these things that apply to you will apply to them. So just keep that in mind going forward. So, what is the main vector we're using to scale this build? We've got Whispers of Infinity on the Hierophant Ascendancy. So, big problem that this class runs into with this is you want to go Earthbreaker Totems, obviously. If you're going Earthbreaker Totems, you're going to be needing something to either support Totems or support Slams very heavily on your Ascendancy. Now, I always wanted to go Hyro with this, and I figured out a way to make it work because Hyro has, obviously, the 2 Totem nodes. The problem with the rest of Hyro is, you can take the first Totem node, you can take the second Totem node. Conviction and Power, pretty good, but then Arcane Blessing doesn't do anything for non-spell Totems, and then these, for a while, weren't doing anything. Because the idea of mana stacking on Totem build didn't really make sense. You weren't getting Archmage, you weren't getting any of that. The thing that makes this work is Whispers of Infinity. So Whispers of Infinity basically just adds chaos damage per 100 maximum mana to you, and makes skills cost energy shield instead of mana or life. Basically, the skills cost energy shield on this build doesn't matter. Just completely ignore it. All we're looking for is that added chaos damage, because that is a lot of added chaos damage, and it is per 100 max mana. So we've got around 5,000 mana right now. You can get it even higher, and that means on average we're getting anywhere from like, 30 times, you do the math, 30 times 50, that's a lot of flat damage for Whispers to be giving us. Now, we've got the flat damage, we've got the delivery device of the Totems. Here's the problem. Totems are really slow. Like, really slow. Like, if I showed you my leap slam speed right now, this is horrible. But when I was in the map, I had quite a lot of leap slam speed. Why is that? So that's the second tech for this build, and it's something I'm very impressed with, and I'm very happy with. So Wilma's Requital gives increases and reductions to cast speed applied to attack speed. What this means is, if you have cast speed on your build, it's just going to give it as attack speed. And if you have attack speed, it's still going to give it as attack speed. So there's a lot of different ways things are worded in this game, and some things are worded as, this is giving increased attack and cast speed, and it's one mod. So it'll be like this. Oh no, this is a different bad example. But some things will give attack and cast speed, and it'll just count as 1. So even though it says 6% attack and cast speed, it won't give 12, it just gives 6. And then some things just do. So for example, Frenzy Charges give both attack and cast speed for this individually, which means that you get double effective Frenzy Charges for attack speed. If you get Onslaught, it also doubles up. And most importantly for this build, if you get Soul Eater, it doubles up. So I went to the wiki and I was basically just looking for any form of Soul Eater that you could use on a totem build, and the answer is there's basically only one. Whispers of Infinity, Coiling Whisper, another Whisper. So Coiling Whisper, how it works if you've never used it before, essentially when 90% of your hex's duration runs out, you eat 1 soul per enemy power. Enemy power is basically just, if it's a unique mob, it's going to give a lot. If it's a normal mob, it's going to give nothing. When you do this, you're going to just get a bunch of souls, because this is one of the fastest ways to stack Soul Eater basically in the entire game. The main thing to note about Soul Eater from this is it's very annoying. So first we're going to start with Temporal Chains. Temporal Chains has a base duration of 5 seconds, that's the lowest of any curse. Punishment also has it, you can use that. Doesn't really matter what curse you use, because the curse doesn't actually affect anything. But you're going to add that to your 6 link with the thing you want to support it with, to hit things. You're going to want Hex Touch support, Swift Affliction, Hex Bloom, and Less Duration. Swift Affliction, Hex Touch, Less Duration, these are all going to reduce the duration of the curse. And then Hex Bloom is going to be an additional tech to essentially transfer that curse to a nearby enemy when another enemy dies. What that means is, 1, when you hit one person in a pack, you're going to spread it to nearly the entire pack. And 2, if you're killing an enemy that's about to hit the expiry time, but didn't hit it exactly, it'll go to the next mob, then expire, which makes it very, very, very clean and easy to always have 45 Soul Eater stacks. So you might be wondering, how much attack and cast speed is 45 Soul Eater stacks? It's around 500% increased attack speed. And what that looks like is exactly what I showed you in game. So when we go into the Sanctuary and we're running around, we are really slow, and we've got this really slow leap slam. But the second we start applying the Temporal Chains, we're right up to 24 We hit one more, we're already up to 36, we're up to, oh, and yeah, we're maxed out basically. And then once we're maxed out, you'll notice that I start leap slamming around like a strength stacker character on a totem build. But you'll also notice that our totems start jumping around like a strength stack character because they have a massive, massive amount of attack speed. So the basic gist of this build is stack flat damage from Whispers and mana, stack energy shield from the mana and from the, obviously, energy shield is going to come from your mana, stacking with the, with clarity and a bunch of other sources, and stack as much cast damage as you can. Get Soul Eater on your totems to solve the attack speed, so that's flat damage, that's attack speed. How do we get increased damage? That's mostly the job of our tree. And more damage is going to mostly come from the Wither stacks. So Wither is a very interesting mechanic. It's something on totems that's very annoying to get, but essentially when you hit things with Wither, they take more chaos damage for a little bit. You can have up to 15 stacks on something, and you want that up as much as possible. First way to get it is Unholy Might. So there's actually a flask called Sin's Rebirth. And Sin's Rebirth, if I can find it, I don't know if I still have it in here. Yeah, Sin's Rebirth. So Sin's Rebirth, what it does is it just gives you Unholy Might during the effect. This is going to give you Wither. It's going to let you hit things and just apply the Wither stacks to full. Remember, if you have Unholy Might, they have Unholy Might because they count as you, basically. Not for attack on kill things, but like I said, totems are annoying and complicated, but if you have Unholy Might, you're good. You can also get it from a large cluster jewel. And then the third way you get it, and the way that I get it, is this jewel right here, Balance of Terror. If you've cast Despair in the past 10 seconds, you will inflict Withered on hit. What that means is just all of your totems are going to basically max stack it the second you did this every once in a while. But remember that this is not going to be doing anything. Targets are unaffected by my Hex, so you want to put this away from people as much as you can because, you know, this thing doesn't have as short of a duration as your Temporal Chain setup, and you want to be doing that. So that's the basic gist of the build. Other than that, the only thing to note is that we have a staff, and we're going staff notes, and what that means is we're going to be getting quite a bit of block. So the next section I want to talk about, mainly the rage problem. So there's two things that totems don't interact with Slam as well with. Slams usually want two things more than anything else. They want Fist of War, and they want Rage. Because what Slams usually are very slow attacking skills. So I've already shown you that this is not a slow attacking skill. We are on a very, very high amount of attack speed. So how can we get more multipliers on essentially a 5-link? So the best way to get it is Rage. And also, it solves our mana regen. So Chainbreaker, aka Akoya Lethal Pride, is going to give us mana recovery from regeneration, not going towards our mana, but instead going towards our rage. And then we're going to spend rage to use our abilities. So if you see right here, I'm spending and I'm using my rage. Now, you'll also notice that that is recovering very, very fast. And this is one of the only ways you can generate rage on a totem build. That's 30% more attack damage down there because of the 30 rage. I wish I could get more, but it's already just a lot on its own. So you're getting extra damage from it, and you're getting your mana solved by it. This is basically required to play the build. You can try to play without it, but you'll have to solve for mana in some way, and I've never bothered solving for mana because these things are like 10 chaos on the trait side. These are not hard to get. So there is another thing that these boots do that's very important. It's a downside that it's in a 5-link. But you know what's an upside? Because we're using a staff, and because our 6-link isn't our damage link, we get 2 6-links. So I already described to you why we can use the Leap Slam Temp Chain setup for Soul Eater. But we actually have another 6-link right here. And that's this guy. So Animate Guardian is one of the most powerful utility spells in the game, if you have it set up right. The thing to note about Animate Guardian, more than anything else, and I did that showcase with Animate Guardian on purpose because I didn't want to show you it just yet. But Animate Guardian, with Meat Shield, Elemental Army, Minion Life, Empower, and eventually you can replace one of these with Companionship support, they're not going to die. If it has Companionship support, it's not going to die and it's going to tank 15% of all damage for you. It also has opportunity for a lot of different tech. Firstly, the setup I have right now, Gravebind and the Cane of Kulamok. Cane of Kulamok can have a bunch of different unveiled mods. The only one we care about is chance to detonate enemies as chaos damage, or chance for enemies to explode for a percentage of their max life as chaos damage. Because of that, that's on kill. The Animate Guardian has to get the kill. If the Animate Guardian has Gravebind, he always gets the kill, so there you go. You now have explosions everywhere. To give you an example of this, I can just open up this. I can open up a Maze of the Minotaur. It's Minotaur. It's good. And I can show you exactly what that looks like. So you'll notice we're getting a lot of explosions. This is like occultist ascendancy level explosions on this build, and it's one of the reasons why in the demo I'm showing off the 16.5 clear on like a breach juice map. It can do breach juice maps because these explosions are good. They are potent and they are consistent. And the AG does not die, pretty much ever. So the AG can die. It probably won't die. It hasn't died before when I've done breach T16.5s with 3 Deli Orbs and full juice with a full Fub Gun tree and everything. I mean, you can check it out right here. This is the tree. You can do these maps and he's not gonna die. Some Ubers have interesting mechanics where they have weird floor dots or lightning dots, especially on Uber Cortex, or I believe he died once doing the Reverent fragments, whatever that boss is called, Uber Dread. So he can die. But also, this is my clear setup. If you did want to do Uber bossing in particular, you can change his setup. So instead of the Cane of Kulamok setup, there's really no reason to run Cane of Kulamok if you're only single target. And then you can switch out for Kingmaker for multiplier for your crit, and for Fortify and all the other good stuff that gives. Plus, another tech, you can actually equip, and this works with Gravebind if you get a Gravebind with Despair on Hit, but if you get gloves with Despair on Hit as the corruption, this only says that your hexes are unaffected. His hexes are fine. I've tested this. Despair works with his hexes. He can, if he has a +1 curse on his build, so Windscreen Boots or Vixen's Entrapment Gloves or some form of +1 curse, then when you're walking around and you're trying to do bosses, he's going to be able to apply Despair, even though you're not supposed to be able to get it with this ring. Very broken tech. Pretty much only available to this build. So, obviously I talked about the leap slam speed. I think that's one of the best benefits of this build, more than anything else, is totem builds a lot of times feel very slow, very clunky to play. This one doesn't, and a lot of that is because you're leap slamming around like you're a full attack-based character. Because the Soul Eater stacks are obviously going towards the totems, but they're going into you as well. So you're getting just as much attack speed as they are, and because of that, you're leap slamming around like I mean, look at this. And because it's attack and cast speed, I mean, that doesn't really matter, but like, that's pretty fast. You can cast everything fast, you can attack fast, and because of that, when you're running around, it doesn't feel like a totem build, really. It feels like you're an attack build. Then you remember you don't actually do damage yourself, and then you gotta wait for your guys. So, Flask-wise, I have this instead of a Mageblood on. You can obviously equip a Mageblood on this build, and it will be good. You can actually equip a Headhunter on this build, and it will be good too, because they get Headhunter buffs. You can also equip a Scraves the Desiccated. Q&A is Echoing Shrine on a build that gets 5 attacks per second busted. Yes, it is. 10 attacks per second is really, really stupid. So is Acceleration Shrine, but I think Echoing Shrine is probably the most broken thing you could get on this build. It's like 100-something div by itself, multi-mirror for the doubles. It might not stay in the game. Enjoy it while you can, but Mageblood is going to work, Headhunter is going to work. Screams with Echoing is going to work. Rare Belt's also going to work. I cleared Simulacrum, full, every wave, Rare Belt. I cleared Uber, pretty much all of the Ubers. I cleared a Rare Belt. I put on Rare Belt, and I just go. Did it struggle with some of them? Yes. Did I die in some of them? Yeah. I didn't one portal everything, but this build does not need a Mageblood to function. Basically, all I have on these, Rumi's Concoction. I think this is the best flask for this build. There are other ones you can use. Most notably, you can use Wine of the Prophet, because they're going to get the buffs from it. Wine of the Prophet's more of a fun mechanic. It's not really the best thing ever. It's just, like, it's an enjoyable thing to have on. You can also have, obviously, Sins. If you're missing the Unholy Might, it's a good way to get it. Oh yeah, one other way to get Unholy Might is you can actually get it on block from a staff, but that's not very consistent uptime, so I don't really spec it. Then for your flasks, it's going to be the same pre- and post-Mageblood, it's just going to be permanent uptime versus non-permanent uptime. We've got Ruby Flask, Sapphire Flask, Topaz Flask for max reses. You don't need this to cap your res is capped already. Silver Flask for Onslaught, because as said before, attack and cast speed from it both overlap, and so you're going to get double the effect because of Wilma's. And then early, you're just going to have gain 2 charges when hit, later you're going to have effect, and you're going to have regen life per second, crit chance, reduced effect of curses, and movement speed. Now, movement speed is arguably troll here, because we're using a Leap Slam. You don't need movement speed. I would actually replace this with a immune to bleeding and corrupted blood, because that's one of the only things that can kill this build sometimes. If you get hit by a random bleeder CF when your Steel Skin isn't up. You can also become immune to Corrupting Fever by getting a Corrupt on any of your jewels, obviously, but it's a little bit hard on this build, and bleeding would still be able to kill you, so I honestly would just take the bleed immunity on your flask, because you don't really need anything else there. For Pantheon, it's pretty simple. We are ailment immune because of Purity of Elements. Because of that, we're running Soul of Lunaris for reduction of Fizz damage, and we're running Soul of Aberath because Burning Ground is awful. Burning Ground is the Burning DOT ground, that sucks. Obviously, this is going to help. Cold Ground isn't really a problem, and doesn't really appear outside of, like, Uber Shaper. And most of the time it's just a max res problem, it's not that bad. Shocking Ground, or not Shocking Ground, but Lightning Dot Ground in Simulacrum and in Cortex. I'm still annoying, still a problem, does a lot of damage. Can't really get immune to it. So, skill gems. We got Clarity in the 6th link, unfortunately. I don't know where to fit this in. If someone has a way to make this build fit the Clarity somewhere else, so we can get another link, and we can get a 6th link on our Animate Guardian, that would be very nice. I can't fit this anywhere else. I'm already using Despair on my Curse, or on my Ring Corrupt, just to get it in the build. Reminder, right, you don't need this, because you don't need to get Unholy Might or Withered from this. But if you have this, the only real place you can fit Despair in this build is on the Corrupt on the Ring, which isn't expensive later in the league, but obviously early it might be harder to get a Coiling Whisper with Despair. Wilma's, we have a Wilma's with 90% cost and reservation. Do you need this? No, you do not. Step 1, go to your tree. Step 2, go towards Sovereignty. Take any amount of these that you need, and you will solve for mana. Other way you can solve for it without doing any of that, you can also just swap out Discipline. Where is it? Discipline. You can swap out Discipline for Stone and Flesh? Flesh and Stone. Flesh and Stone. If you swap out Discipline for Flesh and Stone, it's pretty much just as good. It's just, it only works on people nearby, so I prefer Discipline. And I also like having Val Discipline as a button I can hit to just start recharging anytime. Ours are pretty much Summon Skitterbots, Purity, Discipline, and we've got Precision and Clarity. Precision, just for crit chance. Clarity is for the mana regen. It really, really helps the mana regen, or, well, the rage regen, I guess, on this build. It also is going to give us our Watcher's Eye mod for more energy shield, so it's pretty required. Purity of Elements, pretty no-brainer. We're immune to all elements, very nice. Get a bunch of resists. This build has a lot of uniques on it, so the resists are very helpful. Discipline, more ES, obviously just defensive. And Summon Skitterbots are actually really nice, because you get 1, you get Chill for defensive layers, and 2, you get Shock. And is the Shock that powerful? No, it's not that powerful, but it's extra damage. It's not like 15% damage or something. very nice to have. In our gloves, we have Steel Skin, Automation, Convocation. I do Convocation Automation because I don't really have a lot of sources of healing on this guy. You don't need them, but I do have rare boots on for extra healing. But Convocation is just, one, it's just going to keep him near you, and that just, yeah, makes life a lot easier. And two, you're already needing Steel Skin or some kind of guard buff that you're probably going to want to put on Automation, so I just put them both here. Arguably, if you can find a way to drop Convocation, you can move Clarity down here. This is what I found to work so far, and the Automation is on Convocation is also healing him a lot to keep him alive into dangerous content. On our 4-link, for our main damage, we have the actual gem, which I'm actually going to take out, because if you haven't seen my inventory already, that's going to be a discussion. Critical damage support. Void Manipulation, this actually makes us completely immune to reflect mobs on maps. And multiple totems, because 5 totems better than 3.
Hey, so post-editing, by the way, so fun tip, I only used Leap Slam because I really was liking Leap Slam. The thing is, if you're not using Leap Slam, Multi-Strike works, by the way, and if you just have Multi-Strike, you can just equip this on Ground Slam or any of these other moves. You can just go into a map, and then you'll realize very quickly that you are literally attacking at now 7.5 attacks per second. It is insane how good Multi-Strike is for this, and I didn't even realize or put it in the video, so like I just gotta make sure everyone knows, if you are not using Leap Slam, you can put Multi-Strike in. Look at this attack speed, oh my god.
That's all the gems. They're not that complicated, but there's some finagling you can do to get more value out of them. So, the tree. So the general idea for the tree is you want as much mana as possible, you want as much staff stuff as possible, and we're speccing in for our additional more multipliers, we're speccing in crit. So, we're going for block nodes over on this side, we're going for energy shield, mana, more energy shield, more mana, more mana, more mana. These large clusters are for attributes, cast damage, mana, int. You don't need these. I already have a thing marked in the POB of how to replace them. Cast damage per 100 max mana, cast damage and mana. It is a very much a stacker build where you're stacking mana for the most part. But we're taking a lot of the staff nodes, and for those who haven't used the staff nodes, because I hadn't really before this, these are actually really powerful. A lot of these give crit chance, crit multi, and things like block chance. So we're actually at, with Rumi's up, we're at 65-77 for our block. That's a lot of block, and we end up actually blocking the majority of hits that we take for full damage. That is really good for a character with no shield, no Tempest shield, no nothing. That's one of our layers of just completely avoiding hits. For regenning after we've been hit, we have Zealot's Oath. So I already mentioned the 3% of life per second during effect. That's nice. We also just have a lot of energy shield regen, especially because of Discipline. And because we have the energy shield recharging that much, and we have all of the extra life regen from here going towards it, we usually fill up our ES pretty quickly. I would hesitate against running maps with less recovery rate, because it feels really bad on this build. So I guess treat it like an RF character in that way, where you don't really want to run less recovery. Other than that, we've got charges, and our charges tech. The charges tech is kind of interesting. So you can get endurance and power charges from the Hierophant Ascendancy. So I have a Vermin Flesh Ridden Flame for it. What you can actually do is you can get one for Convocation of Power, Ritual of Awakening, or Sanctuary of Thought. And whichever one you get, you can just spec in the other one because it's already on your tree. I would say the worst one to do with Forbidden Flesh is probably Ritual of Awakening, because you'll miss out on some totem placement speed, but you could probably be fine with that. I just think totem placement speed is the most feels-good mechanic in the game, but you have enough cast speed, attack speed, it doesn't matter. Oh my god, falling over. Then, for frenzy charges, So we have 100% increased charge duration over here. Charges have a default duration of 10 seconds, and that means is if you have a frenzy charge every 14 seconds from Twilight Regalia or any chest piece, you're on the Eldritch Implicit, you're actually getting a frenzy charge faster than you lose them, so you'll be at permanent frenzies all the time. If you notice, I'm in the hideout, I have max frenzies all times. Once again, good, because frenzies give us more damage. They also give us attack and cast speed separately, which both stack towards, you know, the Wilmas. Other than that, is there anything else on the tree that I missed? Oh, Light of Meaning over here. So Light of Meaning is just going to give you ES for all the things in Radius. Once again, you don't need it. You can run a replica Reckless Defense beforehand, because that has no downside, because we are Element Immune already. The thing about Light of Meaning is it's just going to give you a lot of ES, as you can see. It'll give you more ES if it's up here, but Lethal Pride up here is giving us a lot of strength on the tiny nodes, which this build needs, and it's also giving us a bunch of these little passives. The most important ones are probably going to be double damage and melee crit chance. I really like the melee crit chance ones in this. It really helps cap out our crit. Totem Mastery, you can go taunt enemies when summoned. That's what I've been doing to be more survivable. You can also go for 5% damage taken. You can also go for the crit chance early if you're not crit capped yet, and I would actually recommend that until you're crit capped. So there's an argument to be made not to do the totems taunt enemies because it can cause your totems to die more, and our totems are relatively squishy. Like, they don't die all the time, but sometimes you'll run to a mob that just beats them up, and it can be very annoying. So there is an argument to be made you could spec into the totem life and resists over here on the tree, as well as the Shaman's Dominion over here, which I actually ended up doing on my endgame POB, but I've been running this just fine. So you just know you don't need both of them necessarily, as long as you're okay with them dying every once in a while. You'll notice I don't have Ancestral Bond spec'd. That's just because both of these items come with Ancestral Bond. And I think that's about it for the tree. So I'm going to pause here and I'm going to go to the POB. So the POB has a couple things to note about it. I've got a couple of them set up here. I would recommend against the pre-Soul Eater POB. It didn't really feel good. I would say just wait until you can get the Soul Eater set up before you start this build. But here is the earliest setup I was able to basically make work. It's a pretty reasonable amount of things to ask. So I've got Sin's Rebirth for the Unholy Might. I've got Lethal Pride with Akoya for the Rage. I've got Dawnstrider for our ability, Coiling Whisper for Soul Eater, a 6-link, Wilma's Requital, and a Whispers of Infinity. And that is basically the entire setup. Now, you can also, and I have it spec'd here, get Overwhelming Malice on a large cluster for chancing an Unholy Might on crit, which will proc when you Leap Slam on enemies pretty consistently because you're about 70-80% crit on your own. That is basically the entire setup. Early I'm speccing into Heart of Darkness for some extra damage. The tree is pretty similar. It's not that different, and you're not losing that much damage over the full one. This is around 20 million DPS. Our endgame is around 40 million, and that's obviously without factoring in some things like AG buffs that you can get to push it even higher. But I want to go over a couple of things real quick. Mostly about, I have the notes section on the POB here of basically everything you need to know. I have all the crafts written down. I'm going to go over them later in the video, but just know that you can go here, you can see all the crafts that you're going to need. You can see all the AG gear and the different options for it. Most notably the fact that, you know, you can technically run Legacy of Fury if you want even more explodes, and Doppelgangers, guys, is probably always going to be your chest piece, but just, yeah. Oh, and also Malediction Helmet. Malediction Helmet helps a lot. You can get minus cast resist on a Hunter helmet, I believe, but Malediction is going to be 10% less damage dealt and 10% more damage taken to enemies, so I always prefer to have Malediction on my Animate Guardian if I can. How Coiling works, and then we have the ever-present question, Leap Slam or Bladefall? So, a lot of people set up Bladefall of Charthus as the automatic way to do Coiling. But there's actually a very big problem with that. So on our build, one thing that is very interesting is we have 5,000 mana, and Troithus reads, whenever you have mana, the more mana you have, the faster it falls. So you run into an issue with this where your Bladefall is falling this quickly, which there's no way you can get your cursed limit below this duration, or your cursed time below this duration, and so your only option is basically to walk onto things and then run away from them to wait it out, which defeats the entire purpose of Bladefall. So I would just use Leap Slam. That's what I've been doing, and I think that's the better option now that that's changed in the game. Next, we've got obviously Flask Slot. Like I said before, it's optional. You can do Bottled Faith as well for extra damage. The skill gem of choice, I actually haven't talked about till this point, and that was intentional. The main thing that this build was supposed to do, and the main thing I wanted it to do, was one simple thing. I wanted to do Leap Slam totems, because it's really funny to see a bunch of totems hopping around like people. What I didn't realize is Leap Slam of Groundbreaking has a base effectiveness of 688% of damage. That is a ridiculous amount of damage. It is matching Ground Slam of Earthshaking and then going over. Now, granted, it doesn't have the 20% more damage to closer targets, and that's why I would say it's worse than Ground Slam of Earthshaking for single target. But notice how I said worse than, not this is, yeah, this is why it's in my inventory. It's a slam build. It is not a Leap Slam build. So if you watch me, I can walk into this map with Ground Slam of Earthshaking, and oh my god, it's clearing and it works. And then I can go, oh, well, what about Consecrated Path? And you equip that, and you're like, oh, my Consecrated Path totem build is working. And then you're like, oh, okay, but I'm not feeling Consecrated Path today. Okay, what about Sunder? Equip Sunder. Sunder works. This works in the same way that Energy Blade does, where you can run any spell in the entire game on Energy Blade. You can run any slam in the entire game on the Manastack or Hyro. Any of them. Now granted, some of them are better than others. I can go over a couple right now to basically just give you the rundown. I have a tier list in the POB if you're really interested. I tested all of them. The basic gist is, anything in the first 3 tiers is good. Anything below that is and if you're in F tier, you don't want to do it. So, Leap Slam of Groundbreaking. Probably my favorite one. It's very funny, very effective, good clear, and the totems move. A lot of pluses. Ground Slam of Earthshaking, totems don't move, but very good damage, and very good clear, because it's just got a high AoE. Consecrated Path, same thing, totems move, good damage. The base damage is a lot lower, but it makes up for it in the more multiplier. Sunder, once again, very good, very big AoE, very good clear, very good single target, high range, everything. Volcanic Fissure of Snaking, this one I actually want to showcase because there is a problem with this, and it's not the skill gem. Nothing about the skill gem is actually wrong with Volcanic Fissure. I'm just going to play it for you real quick, and I think you'll understand very quickly what the problem is. Yeah, so you can't hear yourself think when Volcanic Fissure is going. It is so unbelievably loud. I was trying to play this one time on screen share with someone, and I genuinely could not hear them talking over the game and the amount of sounds coming out of Volcanic Fissure snaking. Ow. Ow, my ears. So I'd recommend against that one just because of that, but it works. Sunder of Troithus I was unaware of before this. It's basically Sunder but it redirects to people. Is that better than just normal Sunder? Not really. But like, it's technically got some pretty good clear. Ice Crash works. Fuck it, why not? Just like, it's Ice Crash, it just hits on the ground, it's pretty good. Tectonic just hits on the ground, it's pretty good. Holy Hammers, unfortunately, cannot do the triple hammers, and so it's basically just meh. It's just like a normal, okay slam. The thing about Holy Hammers as well is it's got the debuff of you also can't see the game, because It's very, very big. So as you can see, you run around Holy Hammers, it's a lot of particle effects. Give you an example of Ice Crash. Like Ice Crash works. And Ice Crash is actually really nice. I like Ice Crash because it has very little particle effects to deal with on single target. You can see it very clearly with the blue. Sunder of Earthbreaking is terrible for this. I mean, like, it's not terrible, but it's like, there's no reason to use it over normal Sunder. It's just way smaller. Tectonic Slam, same thing. It's like, it's too small, and it's also very loud. Depending on the time. Here, let's see if I can get a, like... it's not as loud, but on single target, you'll start to hear it. And then you've got, obviously, normal Ground Slam is not nearly as good as Ground Slam of Earth Shaking, no reason to use it. Earth Shatter was interesting, because technically you can detonate the spikes with your Q, but, like, these guys attack too fast. So it having a maximum of 18 spikes is it's just not playable. It's just gonna max out the spikes and you're never gonna get full uptime on the damage. Same thing with Earth Shatter Fragility. Earth Shatter Prominence, I don't need to tell you, isn't good. It's just like one spike coming out of the ground that you have to detonate. It's just like... but like, as you can see, you can clear with all of these, even the worst ones. Consecrate Path of Endurance, before you ask, no, they do not expend a power, endurance charge. That's the cooldown. They can't attack faster than that. One of the worst ones you can possibly pick. The actual worst one you can pick is normal Leap Slam, because normal Leap Slam can basically only hit one enemy. Like, here, it's like, I don't know, the explosions are kind of messing it up, but like, I mean, I can even tell, like, this is bad, this is really bad. Volcanic Fissure arguably isn't that bad, but like, it's hard to see, and it's loud, and it's not as good as the other ones, so it's like, once again, no reason to use it. And then Earthquake. Earthquake isn't actually that bad, it's just delayed. It's like, do you really want to double delayed on your totem? Probably not. I don't think so. That's the general tier list. I think you want to mainly be going for Leap Slam, Ground Slam, Consecrate Path, and Sunder. I think these are the, like, breadwinners of this. Maybe Ice Crash if it's something you really like. But you can use any Slam skill, and any future Slam skill, if they add it in this build, is still working. You can just slot into here at any time, and it's going to work. Just make sure it's high level so you can get the damage effectiveness. Okay, so, back to the POV. The FAQ is here. No one's asked a question yet. This is just the questions I assume they'll ask. If you have a question and you want it asked in here, I will add it to here. I will add questions that people have. I will add caveats that people have, because I think this is a very, very, very good build. I haven't seen people play it before, and I want people to play it because I love attack totems, and no one's been able to make this item decent ever since Ben added it to the game through the Gauntlet. I haven't seen people playing it, and, you know, maybe that's just because people don't like totems, but it's been a hard thing to scale, and as you can tell from this build, it's a bit complicated to scale. So, as said before, I have the weaknesses at the bottom. So, the setup needs quite a few Uber items. The big thing about this build that messes it up is it's hard to League Start. It is... Dawnstrider comes from Searing Exarch normal. That's not that bad. But the Whispers of Infinity Amulet from an Uber boss, Coiling Whisper, also from an Uber boss, Lethal Pride obviously doesn't come on the market until a couple days in, but specifically the double Whisper, the Whispers and the Whisper setup, is just not something you're going to be having in a League Start scenario. So what would I recommend League Starting as? I have this modified version of essentially Palsteron's POV for Kinetic Fusillade. Essentially, I found some guy on PoE Ninja running a Whispers version of Kinetic Fusillade, and so this has essentially a full progression into Whispers version of Kinetic Fusillade. So it's still running Wilmas, it's still running Whispers eventually, but if you can't get the other items yet, you could transfer into this if you just get Whispers, and you'll be pretty powerful. You can see... Like, yeah, this has like 11 million DPS. This would hold you over, at the very least, if you were planning on League starting it, and obviously, Palsteron's build is a very good league starter. It was probably one of the most popular league starters last league, so if you want to play Totems the whole way through, that's probably the way to do it. You can also play Mana Man or any other setup for Hierophant early. Just know that this is probably not going to be a league start setup unless you're really committed to, I want to get to it as soon as possible. And even then, you basically just gotta wait until Uber items get on the market. Now granted, those Uber items aren't necessarily the most rare ones, or the most expensive, but depending on pricing, depending on rarity, you just don't want to be beholden to 3 Uber uniques to start your build. So I'd recommend starting once you have a little bit of currency or it's not league start. So that's the early POB. It's pretty much the same as the later POB. The only difference is I don't have companionship support because that's going to be too expensive. I've got... Nope, yeah, no, all these are the same. I've got a potential Spectre Aura section. You can maybe run Spectres on this build, and I'll talk about that at the end for the absolute min-max. I guess just those things were dying, and I don't want to put something in the build that's just like never up in maps. Like, Perfect Forest Tiger does not live on a build like this, and it's disingenuous to be like, oh, we have haste and frenzy all the time from that. It's like, no, you don't, because it just dies. Like, if even the AG with a bunch of defensive gear can die, yeah, Perfect Forest Tiger is not living. Oh yeah, one of the things I'm running on this early is you can just run this Energy Shield Mastery. I drop it later because it's not the most point efficient, but like it's really good early. So I would take this and the 100% ES from Helmet because Wilma's has ES on it. So then I have the non-Mageblood and Mageblood POBs. They're basically the same. The only difference between having a Mageblood and not having a Mageblood on this build is whether or not you have permanent max res of 84%, whether or not you have permanent curse immunity, how much regen you have, and your crit chance, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not. Crit chance can be solved very easily. Global crit if you've summoned a totem recently. If you have this, you basically make up for the entirety of the lost crit from Mageblood. Other than that, you can get more crit on your Lethal Pride over here. There's also these nodes over here you can spec into for crit chance, and the Forbidden node, which I guess I'll talk about now. This is really good. 40% crit chance, 20% multi, that's amazing. Knockback enemies if you get a critical strike is one of the worst mods I've ever seen in this game. I would never spec this, just because knocking back enemies on hit is horrible. I can show you in-game, but just... you need to understand, when you are getting damage uptime, especially on a totem that's not going to be able to follow an enemy's movements perfectly. Let's just do the... oh, no, I need 3 points. Take down these energy shield, yes. You have this. I just need to show you what it looks like. Right? Getting one shot? Guess it doesn't matter if they get one shot. Yeah, so you're seeing that how this rare mob is getting pushed away from them? That's not... it's not something I want to deal with. I don't think it's a good node. I don't think you should take it. If you're desperate for crit, you can take it, but just know you're probably actually hurting your damage more than you're helping it, even though the stats look good. So, the little nodes here are actually pretty good, if you need crit chance though. So that's why we go for crit chance, crit multi here early on the earlier POB. And we do have these large clusters. I think that, once again, I have these on the earlier pre-Mageblood POB because I think these are more important. If you could choose, like, do I need a Mageblood for this build, or do I need... I would get your large clusters first. These large clusters are pretty simple, normal. I mean, they're just increased effect large clusters. They're painful to craft, physically painful, fracture increased effect, and then all the rest of cluster craft. Cluster crafting is horrible. I would buy these from people if I can. Otherwise, it's just basically... I mean, you can do the Beast strategy, where you Exalt Slam a million times. You can do the Harvest strategy, where you click the reroll button. Either way, you're clicking the reroll a million times and you're spraying. I don't think it's good. I have the Staff Mastery here for Recover Energy Shield on block. Is it that good? No, not really. But, like, if you're really missing regen, like, because you know you don't have the permanent regen with increased effect, if you really want more recovery, like, this is This will give you more recovery. Other than that, there's basically no difference between this and the Mageblood setup, other than, obviously, Mageblood setup's going to be a bit more powerful because, you know, Mageblood. And the thing I want to talk about next is crafting. So, I went over the staff and the fact we're using one before, but what are we actually doing with the staff? So, the staff has mods that are pretty simple when you look into them. Basically, what we want is an Ezomite staff. Gives us block, attack damage, and the highest flat fizz. Flat fizz doesn't matter that much, but like the highest block and the highest attack speed. What we want is we're going to fracture mana. When we have a T1 fractured mana, all we're going to do is roll crit chance essences until we hit attack speed. Once you have that, you're going to either decide whether you're okay with 2 suffixes or if you're going for 3. If you're going for 3, then you could reroll crit until you get crit chance, attack speed, and a 3rd mod that you need. Crit multi is a really good one. You could also get +1 to socketed gems if you want for your Animate Guardian. The other thing you can do is if you end up with 2 suffixes that you want and no 3rd suffix, then what you would just do is craft a prefix, use the feral links, I believe. And I can actually just pull this up, and I think it's probably a better idea if I pull this up on Craft of Exile. So, pull it up on Craft of Exile. Basically, all you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get a 2-handed War Staff. You're going to want Ezomite Staff. I don't remember exactly what item level it has to be. I can go check. But the general gist of it is you just want enough that you're going to be able to hit the crit chance and attack speed, so it's like 77. Like, this is not a hard craft, right? So you hit the mana, you get the mana, whatever way you want to get it. A million different ways. Just get the mana, fracture it. Done. Once you've fractured the mana, all the craft is from that point is very, very simple. Turn it rare, go here, and you're just gonna reforge critical. Or no, not harvest. Wrong one. Reforge or go critical on loathing. Once you go to the loathing essence, you're just gonna keep clicking this. You're guaranteed for the crit chance, and you want to get the attack speed. So, there you go, you hit the attack speed. You've also got a suffix for a reduced attribute. Doesn't matter. Now, could you go for a better suffix? Absolutely, but you don't need to. And that just makes the next step very easy. What you're gonna do, lock suffixes. You're gonna craft any attack damage. Or is it physical? No, it's physical. You're gonna craft any physical damage increasing suffix, I believe. No, it's not. No, I'm stupid. I'm getting the order mixed up. You can Veiled Chaos or Veiled Exalt here. Veiled Chaos has the chance to fill up prefixes. I would say go for the Veiled Exalt if it's cheaper, but you can also just go for the Veiled Chaos. Do that, then you craft any kind of physical mod. Physical. Down here, physical damage, because you don't want those. To block, and then you unveil, and you got, yeah, there you go. There's one of them. So you can get either penetrate chaos res or increased chaos damage, which is the other one. See if I can find that. The penetrate is way more common. Yeah, this one. 92% increased chaos damage. Once you have that, then all you have to do is you craft hits can't be evaded. And you're done. That's the entire staff craft, front to center, this is your endgame weapon. I did every Uber with a weapon like this with a completely dead suffix. Can you get a suffix that's good? You can get a crit multi and stuff? Like, yes you can, but you don't need it. And this craft is like 10 div or less, depending on the price of the mana fracture. So, I mean, the only other thing is you want to harvest craft crit chance per quality on this, because obviously you don't really care about the fizz damage, and the crit chance flat is very important for the build. So for the next thing we want is the body armor craft. So the body armor craft is actually also very simple. It is, and I'm just going to do the gloves and the body armor at the exact same time because they're basically the exact same item. You basically just go and you get a int chest piece, highest level, highest quality that you can, and then you simply fossil craft it with dense fossils until you have an ES number you're happy with. That's basically it. Let's say you're fine with 900 and something. That's good. Alright, there you go. So, now that you have... oh, actually, what you really... I mean, this is for the cheap version. If you wanted to go better, if you wanted to have better, you basically start it the exact same way as the other one. You basically just get as much mana as you can, fracture it, then you start crafting. Once you start crafting, it is basically just... reforge dense, or use the dense fossil until you're at an ES number you're happy with. You can only get 2 prefix mods on a thing with a mana thing like this, so realistically you're only ever getting like 900 ES max-ish. So like let's say you're fine with 840 whatever, or am I? Let's just keep going. 922? There you go, 922. Let's say you're fine with 922. Now your prefixes are done. This is a Eldritch available mod, Lesser Ember, Greater Ichor. Now the blue guy. He's the blue guy is the one in charge. Because he's the one in charge, you can just reroll with this. You can just keep clicking Eldritch Chaos until you get something you want. You can also do, depending on price, Annul, Exalt, 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 Annul, 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 Exalt, Exalt, Exalt. You can also just Exalt normally, like use normal Exalts. I didn't know that until recently, but yeah, you can do that. And yeah, you basically just keep doing that until you get the things you want, which for this is just going to be, we just want a resist, that's good enough. And we want, hopefully, another mod. Regen, int, that's probably the best mod you can get. And then you're going to want to craft attributes. Increased attributes. Notably, you can also do plus to attributes, you can also do plus to strength, just move it around based on what you need, but percent is probably going to be the best because you want as much int as possible because it gives you flat mana. Gloves are the exact same craft. I'm going to skim over them a little bit, but like, just know this is basically how you craft all your ES gear on a lot of builds. Gloves. Int. Warlock gloves. Yeah, guess what the first step is? Who could have guessed? It's gonna be fracturing mana. You can also fracture your decks or other things, but just the main things you just want the prefixes done, so I would just do the mana. So that could make it easier on yourself. Fracturing mana isn't that hard. Fracture mana. Once again, we're just gonna turn it regal. Fossil craft. Dense. Roll until you get an ES number you're happy with. I'm not even looking at the mods, I'm literally just looking at the number at the top. 322, is that good? T1 ES, T1, decent. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Let's say you're fine with 336, this is a pretty good roll. So, wait, where'd the... I forgot to put the mana back. My bad. Be fractured. Reroll fossils until you're happy with the result. Let's say that these are obviously higher tier ones, like just put a normal energy shield on it. Like the high tier. There you go, you get like 280, 300-ish. Depending on the quality, you can get more. And then guess what? It's the exact same thing. You Lesser Ember, you Greater Ichor, and then you and then you hit Dex first cry. On the gloves, basically the only thing to look out for is you have 1 resist and dexterity. So it's gonna be a little bit harder to roll than the other one, but like, don't skimp on the dexterity. You need dex on this build, and this is the best place to get it. So try to hit the decks. Wait, oh, there we go. Try to hit the decks. Nope. Nope. And enjoy the pain of Eldritch crafting. But basically you're just going to do that until you get a resist you're happy with and a dexterity number you're happy with. Let's say tier 2. Then your final thing, guess what? It's me, attributes again. You can do other things on it, but once again, you need attributes in this build. This is an easy place to get it. There you go, your gloves are done. For the implicits on the body armor, by the way, it was the frenzy charge every 14 seconds, and % of fizz taken as chaos, because that just deletes it because we have chaos inoculation. For the gloves, we're going to go for damage per 100 intelligence. Damage per 100 intelligence, it's not that good, but it's like, what else are you going to get? And then intimidate on hit. I have yet to see anyone confirm or deny whether or not this works on your gloves for the animate, or for the totems. If it doesn't work on the totems, you can get this on your Animate Guardian. I would love if someone could tell me if this does work on your totems. I think it does, and I've been using it the whole time, so obviously, and once again, like extra damage, if not. Other than that, the ring, I'm not going to make a guide for here. Listen, you can get a reflected ring with resists, a lot of mana, and some int, or ES, you're happy. You can also make a helical ring. I don't know how to craft helical rings. I buy those from other people. If you would like to learn how to craft a helical ring, go check out Captain Lance's channel, go check out any of the multiple videos people who do this very well have made on it. I'm not that guy, and it's only a 9% damage increase for a lot of effort. Now, if you make a really good helical ring and then you missed it, that could be a lot more damage, like upwards of 20%. But if you know how to miss a helical ring and craft all that stuff, once again, like, I might not need to help you at that point. So, other than that, there is basically only 2 more things left. We got the cluster. I went over it before, but fracture 35% effect, and then go to hell. And then just sit in hell and just keep clicking the same reforge button like hundreds of times until you're happy with it. Once again, people have made guides on how to craft those. The short answer is it's a lot of rerolling. The long answer is it's a lot of rerolling, but like there's ways to make it easier. But also just save yourself the trouble and buy these. If they don't exist, I'm sorry. At the very least, just make sure you get the mana and the 35% effect with one good mod on it. I think the attribute one is the most helpful one, because just not having to deal with attributes anymore is a godsend. But the energy shield is also good, the all res is also good. Anything that's just going to help you out on that 3rd or 4th mod. Doesn't need to be perfect. For the mediums are actually a little bit more interesting and a little bit more self-craftable. So the medium clusters here basically have 2 different setups you can have on them. You want one setup on one, and then the rest are the other. So you're going to want a chaos damage one, and if you have a chaos damage over time one, obviously that's not going to do anything with you, because you don't do chaos damage over time. You're trying to get Dark Ideation and Eldritch Inspiration. So, here. Dark Ideation and Eldritch Inspiration. And the way that these work is basically you want Eldritch Inspiration on all your clusters, because it's chaos damage and max mana. You want Wicked Paul on the rest, or another one of the damage increasing, and you want Dark Ideation on one of them. Only one of these is going to be hard to craft. That first one with Dark Ideation and Eldritch Inspiration, you're going to want to Reforge Chaos. This is the best way I found to do it. And it's just annoyingly rare. If you just keep clicking it, it'll take a while, but you will eventually hit it. Dark Ideation is a lot rarer than the other one, as you can see. Dark Ideation is 130, Eldritch is 348 on the weighting. So if you hit Dark Ideation, you can slam an Exalt and pray. Yeah, it's just annoying. It's gonna take a while. These are rare mods. If you fracture one of them, it's an instant craft. It's not even hard. You can also just buy these from people. It's not that bad. This isn't necessarily the most sought-after combo, so people might just be selling them off for cheap. For the rest of them, it's the exact same, but you're just looking for Eldritch Inspiration and any of these tiny ones that give damage. So you can get, like, I believe Wicked Paul gives 30%. Wicked Paul gives 30%. There's a couple of other ones that give like 25 or 30%. Just anything that gives increased cast damage on the other one. It's not that important. Just you're mainly in there for the Eldritch Inspiration because it's double scaling. And that is basically all of it. Now, I can run through a... Now I can run through more content to show you this, but I actually already recorded it, so I can let that play for the rest of the video. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. This is my first build guide. I appreciate it's been a little long-winded, but I hope you understand why. I really, really am proud of this build. I think that it is a genuinely good build. As said, I have cleared every piece of content in the game that I've wanted to clear with it. And while it does have some weaknesses, namely its Fizz max hit and its regen being a little bit iffy, I think with more iteration and more eyes on it, this could become a genuine contender for one of the better totem builds in the game. So, thank you for your time, and like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.